Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We are live. From Jack's porch. And we are doing the preseason cast assessment for Survivor Pacific Northwest Season 6 fans versus favorites. I'm Devon Sampson. I played a fan-made game in BC, and I was a production member on a season that Jack played on. I'm familiar with a lot of the people that are fan or quote-unquote fans because they're from BC, and I hang out with them and talk Survivor with them. I'm only here as production because I am retired now from these games at the ripe old age of 27, but I'm happy to watch these youngins battle it out on the game that I used to play. I am here with the host of Survivor Pacific Northwest, Mr. Jack Wire. So basically, we have a tribe of favorites from the earlier seasons of Survivor PNW, as well as some fans, a lot of which from BC that I am familiar with, I've played with, and seen play multiple times. So together, we are going to talk about this cast and break down their chances of winning. So, Jack, start us off.
We're going to start with Chin. He's our alphabetically first player from the favorites. So Chin is also our least experienced favorite. And also how this season dynamic kind of works, I think the fans might actually be more experienced than the favorites, which is kind of hilarious.
I don't know how much I can generalize to other seasons, but it seems to be the case that a lot of the people in this series in particular, like, you know, there's really good players and a lot of good, like, intuitively good social players, but there isn't that, like, super fan. There's not as much, like, super fans of Survivor, certainly. And I think that amongst the fans, there are a lot of people that are really deep down the rabbit hole in terms of, like, watching Survivor and, like, international versions and playing a bunch of, like, online and live games and stuff like that. So I think this will be an actually interesting, like, culture clash of, like, different schools of Survivor players and all that.
The previous 5 PNW seasons is if you're playing a game on Extreme Novice. I don't think our favorites are going to know what's about to hit them. I think these fans could wipe these guys all over our figurative island. Hardly any of our favorites are the type of people that would go to a different country to play a Survivor LRG. I don't think they're smart enough to realize that these people they're playing against just traveled across borders to play in this game, and they're not going to come here to lose, or they're not going to come here and take this as a joke like a lot of our players have had in the past. I think they're going to come out hard, and we'll see if our favorites can match that. But it'll be really interesting. So starting with Chin, he's our least experienced favorite. He's played 5 rounds. He finished 11th in Survivor Kenmore. Chin, despite not playing very long, I think he only voted one person out successfully. He did show a lot of promise. He made it past the swap in Kenmore, and he was voted out 4-1 by the 4 people that eventually ended up being the final 4. And he looked like he had lots of raw Survivor talent. I think he was pleading to Sasha to keep him in the game and kind of throwing Morgan under the bus. But it ended up that Morgan had an idol, and they just wanted to flush that out. Chin's also someone who is really big into school right now at UW. I think he's in the business program. He's really got it going. He's a good salesman. And I think some of these fans might underestimate him a little bit, because I think he's got more game than he seems. And he doesn't have the track record of a huge threat. So I think Chin could do some dangerous things in this game. He's also he's probably our biggest guy out here. Could be a good immunity threat.
What's your guess about where he falls, like pre-merge, jury, or finalist?
I think he could do one of the best out of these favorites, despite not knowing too much about the game. He's very social guy. He can get in with people. He's not awkward. I'll say he makes the jury kind of around 8th, 7th, 9th, around there, placement for him.
This is probably the one person that I can really talk about that Jack doesn't really know, in Tegan. So for Tegan, Tegan played season 1 of what was called at the time Survivor Canada, which is Jared Batulin's fan-made game. But this was sort of like the lost and sort of like the OG season of like LRGs, and that it came out in 2012. I'm pretty sure it predated like almost all of the LRGs. Like you literally had like in the comments Survivor Maryland, and it's like I'm thinking about starting my own thing like under these seasons. Like, so Tegan's played, but he's like by far like the biggest like unknown commodity. So like other people, like even someone that was like really knowledgeable about this community would not know Tegan, even though Tegan was one of the bigger players on that season. He was pre-merge, but he was by far like Team TV, and not like Team Tony Vlachos, but just like everything he did was kind of like from the lens of like entertainment value. Just like a super like frantic player that was looking to make big moves and gave like really entertaining confessionals. And that was 7 years ago. So it's interesting to see like where, if he's still the same kind of personality, it seems like he is, or if he's like going to play a very like measured style. This is the first game he's played since that 2012 game. He's just like hasn't had the time off work or hasn't bothered to check out other games. This is like 7 years between his first. I mean, that has to be like honestly some kind of record in terms of live reality games. Like Scoopin had some record when he played Philippines of like longest time between like initial season and returnee season. Like Tegan is like the live reality. I mean, let's end the Scoopin comparisons here, but like I think that Tegan is gonna. I think Scoopin comparisons aside, I mean I think that Tegan is set up really well. I actually will make one last Scoopin comparison. I think he makes the final tribal council. I think that he is like a solid. I think he's just like a person you can count on not to like fuck up. And I think especially now, like 7 years later, I think that he has a kind of maturity about him, but also a certain charisma about him. And I think the fact that he's not he's knowledgeable about the game and smart, but he's not a really zealous Survivor fan. And that's a theme I'm going to get into a bit later with some other people. But Tegan isn't the most like outwardly zealous Survivor super fan because he's not, and I think that's going to help him integrate with the with the favorites. I see Tegan as being a real contender in this season, and also someone that's a contender to be one of the more entertaining people. So I'm super curious to see how he lands, just because he's a super unknown commodity. And so with that, I will end the Scoopin comparison, the Michael Scoopin comparisons, and turn it to the next favorite.
Okay, so our next favorite we have is Kobe. He's our only winner we have out here. He was the winner of probably our most competitive season, Heroes vs. Villains. If you had to make a Mount Rushmore of Survivor PNW, Sasha, who could not play, is on there. Morgan is on there. And without a doubt, Kobe is on there. He is a 7-time player of the week. No one else has more than 2. He's found 3 idols, the most in our series. He's won the show. He's finished 5th. He's the biggest fan, along with Keegan, for players that we've had. Just kind of like think about your JT type of guy. Really good for these our 5 seasons that we've had, just because everyone can fall under his mist. Now, will that happen with fans of the show? I don't know. Is Kobe going to be in over his head? He'll definitely be put up to the test. This is like Zion playing in high school against... What's up?
Sasha just texted saying he was back in.
No way.
He literally just texted Jalen.
We just had some breaking. We just had a Woj bomb mid podcast. Jack, can you fill us in on what just happened?
So, literally, less than 5 minutes ago, I think I manifested the Mount Rushmore of PNW Survivor.
Holy shit.
And if Mount Rushmore was 2 people, I know I'm making a lot of American references.
It's all good. I know. I talk about Mount Rushmore too. It's like top 4. Yeah, it's all good. Kiddies use it too.
Sasha and Kobe would be the 2-person Mount Rushmore. Sasha's played 28 rounds of PNW Survivor. He's played 4 seasons. He's played... He might have played the best game ever, better than Kobe in Heroes Villains in Kenmore, when he just dominated, unlike anything we've seen before that. Sasha, he kind of had a rough go in Heroes vs. Villains. Kobe voted him out post-swap, so is Sasha going to come back firing, or is he going to try to get with the threats? Sasha's really an unknown. I didn't know he was playing until right now, and I guess we will have to kind of spread out our challenges now. I'll be up later tonight planning our season. Wow. That kind of just threw me for a loop. I think he'll be ready to play. This will kind of be like Suri in Game Changers coming off of Heroes versus Villains. It's not fresh in people's memory, his game in Kenmore. He already paid for that in Heroes versus Villains. He's going to be ready to come out swinging. I think Sasha I think he'll make it deep in the game. I'll say he makes the finale, but he's not a finalist.
Yeah, wow, a literal Woj bomb, like during, well, not, figurative Woj bomb during this podcast, right after, to date this podcast, we just heard about the Kawhi Leonard Clippers news right before we started recording this, so, yeah, wow, that's breaking news, wow, it's good to have that. So, actually, to start this discussion, I'll start with Nolan. Let's talk about Nolan Easton. So, Nolan is... he played with me on the one live game that I played. It was called Survivor: The Battle of BC. It was the 4th season of the aforementioned show by Gyra, Survivor Canada. He had to go in the 3rd round. He had like a family emergency. He got to play the next season alongside Jack. Nolan is someone that is a big fan of Survivor. Not your typical nerdy. He's like he's not even like like a lot of people that are like super fans of the show are kind of nerdy. And Nolan isn't that at all. Nolan's like he will tell you himself numerous times. He is an alpha male. And he plays a game like that too. He's a very aggressive player. He's always like trying to like make up plans and, you know, just like he's like big move oriented, and he really prefers to play a game in which he is in control of votes and he's like running the game. He recently also played Survivor Real Foot, I believe season 7. It was like a fans it was a Blood versus Water season 7. He ran a lot of that game. He'll tell you himself. You know, he made it really far. Had a chance to go even further. There's some pros and cons about Nolan. I won't get into it too deeply, but this is my main view. The pros are this. Nolan is a much more seasoned player now. He's had a lot of experience under his belt. He's seen things that have worked for him. He's seen things that haven't worked for him. You can tell that the games that he's played in the past, he thinks about a lot. He's constantly thinking about these like counterfactuals, like what he could have done differently, how the game would have changed if X had happened, even from like other players' perspectives. He's not stubborn. I think he's going to try to do things somewhat differently, and change things up and have a kind of different approach. I think if we were to interview him right now, he would probably give you a soliloquy about all the things that he wants to do better in a different game and so on. Here's my concern with Nolan. I think the biggest weakness of Nolan is something he hasn't identified yet, and I think it could be his problem here, which is that I think that at the highest tier of like Survivor players, you have people that, like, I think one of the most important things in Survivor is managing your perceived threat level. And when you're being too much of a threat in the game, kind of like turning the volume down, not giving as much effort in competitions, being okay being perceived by your fellow players as not a threat. And I think for Nolan, it's just his nature to want other people to know that he's the man. And that it's, you know, there's a lot of things in life that helps you, and like that attitude is like great. Survivor is not that. Survivor is everyone gets a vote and the tallest blade of grass gets cut. And Nolan is, I think he's the type that can't help but puff his chest out and be the tallest blade of grass just for the sake of it. That's my concern with Nolan. And I think until I feel like Nolan really understands that aspect of the game, it's hard for me to really assign him any win equity and to really feel good about Nolan as like the guy that's going to fucking win this season. I think Nolan can go far and I think Nolan can run a lot, but I feel like almost like Nolan's best case scenario is like getting voted out late because he's a threat. Now, of course, I guess his actual best case scenario is getting to the end and winning out in competitions, which is possible. So he actually does have some win equity there. But I do think that like Nolan's a good bet to go like decently far in the game, but his chances of getting voted out are going to sharply rise in those like mid to late game rounds. And I don't think that that's, in terms of the things he's identified about his game to like improve, I don't know if that's one of the things that he's like thinking about. I have Nolan as early jury. Jack, you've played with Nolan a bit. Some thoughts on Nolan?
I think Nolan really needs to dial down what he's doing and being really out there and in charge, as Devon said. And I don't know if his kind of attitude and kind of alpha male style is really going to work out here with these favorites. I don't think they're going to take that. I think they want to show that they're the top dogs, that they want to kind of defend their turf. And I think if Nolan just comes in here trying to be the top dog and is telling everyone what to do because, he's the smartest in the group, then I don't know how well people are going to receive that. He'll be good for challenges, so I think he will make the jury. I'll say he's an early jury boot around like 11th or 10th, and I could maybe even see him going out right after the swap. The next returnee we'll get into is Jalen. So Jalen is a player that's kind of right on the cusp of that Mount Rushmore we were talking about. He finished most recently second in Heroes vs. Villains, and he played really a good, clean game. He got in a good alliance, and he kind of rode that out. He won some challenges near the end and was making a good case for himself, but his fatal flaw was that he really brought Kobe to the end, just always dead set on voting the villains out. And once you merge, really, that's when the game blends. That's when there is no heroes, villains, or fans' favorites. That's when you need to reach out to other people and really think outside of the box. And Jalen showed that he could not do that in Heroes vs. Villains. But I think Jalen is someone that has thought about that mistake a lot. He's gone back and watched a lot of Survivor. He recognizes that mistake that he made, and I don't think he would let something like that happen again. I don't think he's taking a Kobe to the end again. I think that he's going to get down to the end with probably people that he thinks he can beat in challenges, and then try to win out, maybe from Final Five on, and hope that's good enough for the jury. I think he'll play a good, honest game again until he needs to. But at least this time he'll know when he needs to. So I think Jalen, I'll say he's a finalist in this season. Jalen's kind of a quiet guy. He's not going to get in anyone's grill about arguing about anything. No one's going to be upset with him. I think if he can recognize who the real threats are and can think outside of the box and not just vote on tribal lines, then he'll be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I stepped out to refill my glass of wine while Jack was talking, but I'm sure that his thoughts on Nolan were impeccable. Actually, no, I'm going to be Skip Bayless and just arbitrarily disagree. I think his opinions were just totally off base about Nolan, unless he agreed with me. So we'll never know. So I guess the next fan, let's talk about Cole Copeland. So Cole was again on that season, played with Jack and with and I guess Austin, but was never on the same tribe, and with Nolan. Cole is a dangerous player with a very bad reputation heading into this game. Cole might have done well earlier in the year, perhaps, if he was playing this game, but I think at the point he's at now, Cole has a reputation. And it's not, like I said, it's a pretty bad reputation. So basically, has since won an online game called Bigger Brother, in which it was a 24-person game, which he was the ultimate winner. Got jury votes from lunch lady Denise from Survivor China, and from Ronnie Talbot from Big Brother 11. And in that game, he was just absolutely brutal. Like, he just blindsided people pretty harshly, and it was just developed a reputation in that game as someone that's just completely ruthless. I think other people have commented that he's kind of come into his own as a confident person, but confident Cole is someone that will confidently stab you in the back without question. Cole has also played Surviving Real Fit Season 7 with Nolan as well, and Cole basically dominated that season strategically. He I could list his accomplishments in that game, but essentially all you need to know is that with his number one ally, his blood in the Blood versus Water season, at the final 6, he orchestrated a 2-1-1-1-1 vote. That's fucking insane.
Let that sink in.
Let that sink in. That is a lot of coordination required, and he just pulled it off seamlessly. Got to the final 2 against everyone's sweetheart of the season, and still almost won. The final jury vote was 5-4. 20-person cast was the runner-up. Cole has really kind of like emerged as like a burgeoning star in the LRG community. That being said, the downside for Cole is that Cole is a burgeoning star in the ORG and LRG community, and one that with a reputation, like literally in the comment section during the Real Fit live streams, Taylor St. Louis was like, Cole is one of the most vicious players out there, like cutthroat players out there. And I think that's a known thing. Nolan got blindsided by Cole in that game, and Nolan's not happy about it. Nolan did not have many positive things to say about Cole on the way here, and he will likely not have many positive things to say about Cole to his fellow players during this game. So Cole, I mean, Cole's a great player. Like, Cole you can count on to, like, make the right moves and make, like, very advanced moves in order to advance his self-interest. And he's not going to be wrong about that. Cole's not really going to be misted into doing something that's against his self-interest. That being said, I don't think Cole's going to have the resources in this game to do shit to advance his self-interest because no one's going to trust him. And I think that Cole is one of the number one people to say that this person's going to be pre-jury. I'm to the point where, like, I'm actually surprised he came out. He's great, and like if they somehow let him through, somehow like he somehow makes it through this game, like gets to merge and like meets up with the favorites. This could be interesting because it could be like lambs to the slaughter in terms of like the PNW.
I'll lose all of my friends.
Cole just be like, "Oh, you haven't watched much Survivor, huh?" I'll show you the way.
Let me try this.
Here, just try that. Yeah.
It's ugly.
We could see like a really ugly massacre occur with like everyone trusting Cole. This visual is like amazing. Like all these like hyped up players just like getting like absolutely slaughtered like one by one. Oh my god, I'm like crying. Okay, but that being said, Cole's pre-jury. He's gonna have to pack his shit like super early. Jack, what are your thoughts on Cole?
Yeah, Cole, I've said it before on record. I'm on record saying this. He's probably the best player I've seen in action. I don't know if it's close. I mean, the dude, it's just amazing what he can pull off. He's so smart, so good socially, but I don't know if a shorter game like this, you don't have as much time to build those bonds. And I'll tell you what, he had a lot of time with Nolan, playing 2 seasons with him, and I could see an early clash between those two. If they go to a tribal council before the swap, I don't know if one of them makes it out alive, or both of them make it out alive, sorry. Cole, he's a really good player. I don't know if he's good enough to overcome his reputation coming into the game, especially after seeing Real Foot. Yeah, on the flip side of that, though, if he does make it out somehow, I could very well see all of these high school players that haven't watched a single episode of Survivor coming in, being misted by Cole, who's already wearing a Seattle Mariners hat.
Fuck off. Are you serious?
He walked in with a Seattle Mariners hat.
I didn't even see that. Oh my god.
He is already in action. We're already seeing it. That's just insane. I don't know if Cole's been to a Mariners game in his life.
But we know he's like looked up all this information about the team. See him like he gets to like swap or merge and all that, and we like walk up on him in like production, and he's having a conversation about like Ken Griffey Jr.'s career and all that.
Oh, I just loved him in the 90s, man. He's so great. Yeah, we should have won that 116 win season.
Oh my god.
Cole, also, I kind of knew this was coming, but he's asked me lots of questions about production and what's allowed and what's not allowed. And this isn't really a problem with my favorites. They kind of just show up and play. But Cole has lots of questions about idols, fake idols that can be brought in the game. Is there a limit to how many fake idols can be brought in the game? Which there is not. So I expect many fake idols to be pulled out. But I think it's going to be very early tomorrow morning that we see it. And I also think that Cole goes out pre-swap, I'm going to say.
Well, now starting on Cole. He's going to be out early in this. He's going to have a lot of time to enjoy Bothell, Washington, and all that. That being said, if Cole can make a deep run in this game, Cole can get to like final tribal council. I think the young prince of the ORG LRG community becomes the king and takes his throne. Like even if it's a loss at final tribal, like if he can get there, bow down to the king, the new king of this community. That being said, he's not necessarily not either, even if he does shit in the season, but like, cause this is not designed for him to win. And I think any player, no matter how good, is like vulnerable under the wrong circumstances. And these are the wrong circumstances for Cole. Anyways, enough talk about Cole. Let's move on to our next favorite.
Okay, let's talk about Connor Keyes. So Connor, I wasn't sure if Connor was going to be able to play because he's Mormon and he usually can never play on Sundays. But, I mean, I guess he's playing, but we'll see if he even makes it to Sunday. Connor's probably our most erratic player that we have. He's notorious among our players for being the first to flip on alliances. He did that in Juanita Creek, famously, and in Kenmore. He'll basically be in an alliance with you and then sell you out the first chance he gets. And he's not necessarily smooth with it at all. I mean, you can really tell when he's lying. He gets really nervous and blinks a lot and stutters, and it's not really pretty. But the thing about Connor is I think he'll have lots of plans coming into the game, which he's done before. I don't know if he learns. He's tried to pregame before. It hasn't worked. He's going to think he knows what to do again, and I don't think it's going to work. I think Connor could go out post-swap maybe. I'm not too high on Connor coming into this game. He got 8th in Kenmore. He got 9th in Juanita Creek. I could see him going out kind of around that same spot. I could also very well see him being one of Cole's sheep brought to the end. Not a lot of hope for Connor going into this one.
Okay, so I guess the next favorite is the last one to talk about. I've gone through everyone in my head. Yeah, so the other fans, I don't know. But there's one last fan that I do know. And this fan is my winner pick, Austin Breer.
Whoa.
Austin is going to win this game because he is really knowledgeable about Survivor. He sort of has like, he's like the the white mirror of Cole in that like, he's all the reasons to like not like Cole are reasons to love Austin's chances. Because Austin is a fan of the show. Austin is capable when it comes to strategy. Austin is very capable, like in a really underrated way of being socially. He's kind of like Fabio, but like knows the strategy and is like much more deliberate socially and is like the kind of player that like is not afraid and not shy to make big moves in the game, but it's still the kind of person that like other people can kind of for whatever reason feel superior to, even if they're not. I think Austin is someone that is going to really do well integrating socially. He knows the game, but he's not going to be perceived to know the game that well because the other people in his tribe, the other fans, are going to be a lot more like openly, zealously nerdy about Survivor. Even Nolan and especially Cole. I think Cole can like kind of keep it in, but like he's clearly like the kind of super fan archetype, whereas Austin isn't. But he is, in fact, a super fan. I've played with him. He was, like, my biggest threat in the one live game I played. He just, like, can take allies away from you. Like, you can think you're in an alliance with people, and then you swap with Austin, and they're now Austin's allies. He's very underratedly good at this game. He's also Team TV. Like, he's capable of being a really entertaining player. He dumped out all the food for his tribe in the other live game we played because he got blindsided at a vote and didn't like it. One thing I worry is that Austin is not necessarily the best player at playing from the bottom. I think both times in the seasons I've seen, he just played from the bottom rather poorly. That being said, I think that Austin is exactly the kind of player to play well from the top. I also think he's capable of winning challenges, even potentially mental challenges, and especially with like the nature of the favorites on the other tribe, not being like super duper Survivor super fans. Austin is like the exact archetype to like integrate with them. Like honestly, I could picture Austin on like a previous season of Survivor Pacific Northwest as just like a natural like, person from the area. Like he just like fits with that vibe really naturally well, and it helps that he's a great player. He's my winner pick. He's going to win this game.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think that's a great winner pick to have. I mean, Austin was, when I showed up for Deus Ex Machina, Austin told me that he was a fan of PNW, so he's going to know a lot of these players, too.
That's right. He's also seen all the seasons of PNW.
Yeah, so I think he'll have players that he's going to want to align with, and I think that's huge coming into the game, kind of knowing the game that you're playing and the people that you're playing with. I think that's going to be huge, and I agree that, I mean, he's just like a lot of these guys. I mean, he's chill. Like, I think he could fit in well with a lot of the favorites and with the fans. I think there's going to be a bigger fish to fry. I could see him skirting through there and possibly getting with his partner and doing some real damage. So I'll say, I don't know, I'd kind of like the winner pick for him, but I'm not gonna steal a winner pick. I'll say Austin's late merge.
And so I guess unless like Jack like shakes his head no, I'm about to say that one of the twists for the season is like in Survivor Maryland All Stars, there's going to be the partner twist, where each person has like a secret partner from the other tribe, and so that could help Austin too, I think, because he's going to actually know the person he's the partner with, and so he'll have a sense of whether he should or should not work with the person that he's been assigned as a partner, or whether he should just kind of ignore the twists and just vote his partner out anyways, potentially. So, yeah, I think that's good, and I think we can go into our next favorite. I think Jack is going to lead the discussion here because I literally don't know anyone else in the game. But, yeah, take it away, Jack.
Our next favorite is Keegan, and
I know Keegan.
Yeah.
You can talk.
So we'll keep Devon in here a little longer. So Keegan is someone that has played 3 of our seasons, and his placement really hasn't been on par with how good of a player he is. He kind of got a raw deal in all of his seasons, kind of not being in socially, kind of friend-wise with all these seasons. But I think that won't be as much of a factor here because we've been out of high school for 2 years. A lot of people have gone on to do their own things, so they're not as close. So I think the game will more be won out there at the school, and I think that really benefits Keegan. One thing that kind of hurts him is his last time out there, here's Villains, finished 9th. He pulled out the notorious pig idol, where he hit a pig, and inside this little piggy bank was a key to a box that was also hidden, where poor Rose, found this box, unlocked the box, and inside was a fake idol that Keegan hid. Mind you, this was the second round of the game, and Rose was voted out unanimously.
Oh, my God.
So if we're going to talk about overplaying, that's Keegan. That's him. Keegan has pulled off probably one of our best moves ever in Juanita Creek. Again, the first round of the game, where he played both sides. It was a tribe of 6. He played both sides, 3 and 3. Someone in one of the groups of 3, Jackson, found an idol. He told Jackson to play it for Justin, and he voted with the other side for Justin, as to make both sides think that he's still with them, still feeding both sides information, so he can kind of hold off his decision for later, which is a really savvy move. But, I mean, it ended up at Final 11. He had to draw his cards already. So he can make really good moves. Does he have the patience, though? Keegan's also playing in our next season of Survivor Canada, Survivor BC, with Kevin. But some of the people playing in this game are on production for that and might know Keegan from his application. I don't know if that's going to hurt him too much. It might even help him. But for Keegan, I'll say he goes pre-merge. I think his reputation might hurt him. I could see him going out post-swap from someone like Connor Kai's flipping on him and like going with Cole or something.
Oh God, the lamps to the slaughter, Cole still in the game, and like the buzzsaw begins.
And moving on to more of a lightning round with our last two fans that are playing. Aleem, I have no clue who he is. Cole just brought him as a buddy. So we'll see how he does. I don't really know anything about him. Maybe he'll align with Cole as an extra number. And Allie, my sister, our only female playing in this season, which I think could help her. She'll also be on the fans tribe, which will be really interesting because she will know none of these people. She's in a room sleeping right now while they're all talking. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to see her as a threat at all. If anything, the worst case scenario, she's voted out as an early boot that everyone can agree on. But I don't think Nolan and Cole will be able to vote her out over each other. So I think she'll get by. I think that'll be maybe to the detriment because once she gets with the favorites, I mean, these are friends of mine that she at least knows a little bit. I think she'll definitely flip over to them and could end up skating by as like a final two goat or something.
The development of the Nolan-Cole rivalry is, I think, really essential to her success because the fact, like, if she's open about the fact that she, like, knows, I mean, it'll be kind of obvious when you think about it, but especially if she's open about the fact that she knows people on the favorites tribe, that could be extremely problematic for her chances because it would seem pretty logical, especially if she's a liability in the first challenge. But particularly on this tribe, she could have a chance just because there's some big egos on this tribe and there's some like pre-existing pretty heavy beef between people on this tribe, which could really help her out, especially if they only have to go to one tribal, and obviously especially if they have to go to 0 tribals before swap.
Yeah, so I'll say Allie makes it far into the game. I'll say that she makes it to the finale if she's not telling everyone on the fans tribe that she basically wants to flip over and that she knows everyone on the favorites tribe. Some of the favorites that we have left, Boone. Boone is definitely a fan favorite. He is the star of our most viewed episode, Survivor Kenmore Episode 1, where it was looking like it was about to be a 4-4 vote going in on the first tribal council. He pulled out a fake idol to try to get the other alliance to split their votes, saying that they would split their vote 3-3 and then his group of 4 would eventually reign true. But that move ended up actually having that alliance of 4 that he was pitching to target him instead, and he was voted out. Kind of one of our craziest votes. In Heroes Villains, he kind of had a comeback performance and finished 4th, and that means that he's played with Kobe a lot, especially in that season. And I don't know if he'll let Kobe stay in the game for too long. I could see, kind of like we talked about the Nolan and Cole beef on that side, I could see Kobe and Boone kind of butting heads. I think if Boone has learned from his experiences in past seasons, he will try to keep Kobe around for a little bit before voting him out. But I could see him gunning for him right out of the gate. I think Boone will be early jury. And then moving on, we have...
Let's talk about Kevin.
So Kevin, I don't know if he's here yet. I hope he shows up tomorrow. If he doesn't, we'll just edit this part out. I don't know Kevin, but I just know that he applied for Survivor BC and is playing in that. He seems like more of a low-key guy. I could see him kind of getting in the shadows of the Nolan and Cole rivalry. And he doesn't know our BC players, which is an interesting aspect to him. So he won't necessarily be anti-Cole. So that could make him maybe gravitate towards him and be on that side. I could see him, Tegan, Austin, and Aleem, and maybe even Allie getting together as kind of under the radar players that can kind of run the game. I think that'd be kind of a really fun alliance. I don't know too much about Kevin. I haven't met him. I'll say Kevin makes it, if his alliance can win the merge out, I think that he'll make finale, but not the final tribal. I'll say he's a finale player. He made it pretty far. Ryan is here. He's being friendly with everybody. Ryan's a really bad player. He just got it going on, but I don't know, it's just logic doesn't really make sense a lot of times. Just doesn't watch the show. I could see him being a sheep in this game. I'll say that Ryan makes middle jury and doesn't really add much to the season at all.
This is Jack telling it like it is, not holding it back. The hot takes.
Scorching.
Scorching hot takes. We have one last thing, and I'll let Jack close it out. Jack, who's your winner pick?
So, to say I've thought about this a lot is not an understatement, but a falsehood. I haven't thought about this at all, really. And I liked Devon's pick of Austin, but I'm not going to pick the same person. I'll pick someone. I'll pick a favorite. You know, I'm going to stick with my guns here. I'll say Jalen has learned enough from his past seasons and that he'll come out ready to win this game. I think he's ready, and I think he's got it.
Yes, that's it. That's our cast assessment podcast. This was fun to do. I went through about 2 glasses of wine. And yeah, exciting season. I'm excited to be out here. It's just fun to watch these things play out, and looking forward to an exciting season. I think that I'm really interested to see this interplay between the fans and the favorites, and like this clash of cultures, a clash of like Survivor styles, of like Survivor schemas and ways of thinking about the game really come together, both at swap and at merge, and just whatever pre-existing drama we get to see unfold for a few rounds at the beginning. So yeah, it should be a fun season. And also, yeah, Survivor Maryland partner twist in is gonna be fun. All right, take care. I don't have a clever sign off.